to our holy trio, one of which is me. I'm not particularly holy, but there's Brother Matthew, of course. And there's Sister Holly, Katie, Susie, who's also in attendance for tonight's confession, which comes from Ian. Ian, thank you very much for sending in this. I wrote to you when you were at a different parish many years ago. Had mixed blessings from you previously. I feel the need to come before you once again and unburden my heart regarding a situation that happened decades ago. My wife and I had just been approved as foster carers. We were excited to have an 8-year-old boy placed with us. The paperwork said he was a bit lively, but we were up for the challenge. Soon after he arrived, we were desperately trying to find things to occupy his time. He was constantly on the go and quickly got bored. Not wishing to give too much away, but we lived sort of close to a forest, well known for a certain chap dressed in green. With his band of happy chaps, would rob from the rich and give to the poor.
Oh, I know the one.
I'm not quite sure where this could be. Each year, there was a festival in the forest, so I decided to take this young man to have a look around. My wife was sort of anxious and thought it was a bad idea. She'd been run off her feet looking after him and was exhausted, so I said I'd take him on my own. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? He was only 8.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it was going to be fine. We got to the festival and found many attractions to entertain and amuse us, although I avoided the knife-throwing and sword-swallowing, as I felt this might lead to unnecessary amounts of paperwork at a later stage. There was, however, an event in the main arena that caught my eye. A reenactment of the local green-clad hero and his trusty men riding into battle on horses to give the local law enforcement officer a good thrashing. We both made our way to the big field and waited for the fun to begin. It lived up to all my expectations. The sheriff's henchman waited for the the sheriff's henchmen got a right old pasting, having been thrown off their horses. And then the local hero tackled the sheriff himself. After a lot of, toing and froing, the battle was won and a loud hurrah went up from the crowd. All that was left was for the various characters to ride past for applause or the customary boos.
Yeah, of course.
Like at Spurs for the end of season walk of shame.
Very much.
Whilst this was happening, that's not in the...
No.
Whilst this was happening, I called my wife to tell her what fun she had missed by staying at home. She didn't seem particularly interested in all that I was describing to her, but instead wanted to know how our lad was. Oh, he's fine, I reassured her. He's loving it, aren't you? And I glanced down at him, or at least where he had been standing, only to find an empty patch of grass.
No.
I ended the call to my wife, blaming a bad signal in amongst the trees, so I could begin to panic in earnest without her reminding me how she had told me not to go in the first place. Well, my attention was drawn to a large gathering of people around a tree. I was torn between searching for an 8-year-old boy and finding out what was mesmerizing such a crowd. Curiosity got the better of me, and I went to see what everyone was gawking at. It transpired that I'd made the right choice because actually the crowd were all staring at an 8-year-old boy. He was standing on a branch 30 feet up.
Wow.
It's not just the height that was cause for concern, but the branch itself seemed to be not much thicker than a pencil and was bending most alarmingly.
Oh, no.
Someone from the crowd shouted up to him, "Where are your parents?" The boy scanned the crowd, and once again, the blood drained from me as he silently pointed in my direction. And then I think I did what every person would have done in such circumstances. I turned around and glared and tutted at the man standing behind me. He was completely taken aback and didn't know how to react, other than blushing a deep shade of red. I shook my head at him, and others around me quickly joined in their disapproval. Really? I decided that the best approach was to now directly withdraw from the gathering. In my opinion, it would only confuse the crowd if the child tried to clarify things further. I wandered back to where we'd been standing previously at the arena and found that there was an excellent falconry display taking place. Having watched it for about 10 minutes, I noticed that an 8-year-old was now standing next to me. I glanced down to confirm that it was the same one I had brought with me and that all of him was in healthy condition. Having found it to be so, I took his hand and we walked back in silence to the car. To this day, I have no idea how he got down from the tree. But clearly I need to ask forgiveness from the young child in question. He went on to live with us for 6 years and has stayed in touch ever since. I do feel guilty about the man standing behind me, however. I fear he might never forget the disapproving tuts and boos of a crowd that had just been whipped up into a frenzy by a man dressed in green beating the living daylights out of the sheriff and his collaborators. So it is for this that I fall before you and seek mercy. And this comes from Ian, who I think at the very beginning he said he'd tried to get some forgiveness before. To no avail, I suspect. Anyway, a scandalous tale, and Sister Holly Kate Susie is going to go first.
Yeah, it's not great, is it, Ian? Really, you're the child that you were looking after on a branch on a tree. That was bad enough that he got there, yes. And then you didn't even stay to help him down. Like, what was that?
He ran away.
He ran away. He ran away to the falconry display, and it wasn't really good enough, frankly. And so, yeah, I can't forgive really for that reason. That reason alone, I'm afraid, Ian.
Yeah. So the guy behind Ian took the rap. Brother from another gutter.
Oh well, I'm going to forgive. And why are the crowd? I mean, the child is up on a branch, 30 feet off the floor. And the first thing on the crowd's mind is, where are the parents? Well, maybe let's try and get the kid down on the floor first, and then we'll start.
So it was the crowd's fault.
The crowd's fault. Why are they sort of deciding to shame the father? And then he obviously turned around, and great quick thinking by him to blame the bloke behind him, and then take in the falconry, because there's nothing better than when you've pretty much sure that your child's going to be okay, is let's go and check out the falconry, because that's why we've paid our money. So I'm going to forgive just for that reason.
Really?
Yes, because I can't think of anything else.
No.
Moral.
No.
Oh dear.
Morals from the gutter.
Yep.